Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. I hope you had a great weekend. There's so many things out there, especially in the polity. We'll probably touch on, a couple of them, maybe one or two more than a couple. On the one hand, what's in all the papers this morning, the president over in Poland saying, I am not a clone, I am not Jubril. The background to the story, just about every Nigerian knows it now. But the president explained to the Polish audience, no doubt, that there are those who wished he was dead. But he's very much around. By the will of Allah, he shall celebrate his 76th birthday and continue with the job that he is doing. There are those who are saying that, why did Mr. President wait to get to Poland? We've been talking about that thing here. He never saw fit to, give us anything. But as was also explained in some of the reports we're getting, is that, well, somebody asked a question. And if you ask a question, especially in public, you're probably going to get an answer. I don't know, we might have something to say about that. Crisis in political parties, PDP, understand their campaign, whole office and strategy. Governor Wike threatening, allegedly, to resign and not take part in it anymore. Grouses here and there. You don't really know how to report all of this because you have to be careful with politicians. It might just come about, and I never said so. It is thought that Governor Wike is on the verge of resigning, but all his people are pleading with him, don't do that, what is the gripe, whatever. It might be money. Wike is reported to have been a main financier of the PDP, but that was then. Now with Saraki over in the PDP, Atiku Abubakar is over in PDP, and perhaps they don't have as much of a shortage of money and therefore are not paying attention to certain former sources. I don't know. That's speculation on my part. And then the army, $1 billion US we committed to the army, at least the president, But the army chief says, we ain't seen that money yet, just for us to know. We ain't seen it. It's been allocated, but bureaucracy is such that it is still a work in progress. Maybe start from here, and this is where I tell you my guest this morning, DG International Institute of Professional Security, Tony Ofoyetan, who is also a lawyer. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, Yori. It's nice seeing you.
Indeed, it's our pleasure. And I suppose there's a sense in which we can say compliments of the season.
Yes, of course, compliments.
It being December and all.
Yeah.
And also my friend Eniton Olukotun, we call him Eni. He's a journalist and public affairs analyst. Thank you as always for coming on.
It's a pleasure being here, Yori.
Let me start with you, Tony, with your security, aspect. This is a very important matter. We want to wipe out Boko Haram. We want to wipe them out.
Yeah, like the president had given the
we want to wipe
military the marching order. But I think basically it's rather shocking to be told that the said $1 billion is still either in CBN coffer or is still going through bureaucratic whatever. I think that it is a product of the value we place to life. Those are the helm of affairs, especially those that are involved in all these bureaucratic red tapes, and must understand that there are some of these things that needed to be given speed. For those of us in security, $1 billion is nothing. It's nothing. If judiciously used, it's nothing. How many arms and ammunition will you use? Such money to purchase. As big as it is, security is extremely expensive. And we expect that once that money has been approved, it is expected that it should be released forthwith. Now, it is when it is released forthwith that we can now begin to come all out against the military if we have some of the shortcomings here and there. Yes, I agree to the extent that money has its own role to play. The humans too has their own role to play, especially when it comes to intelligence gathering, and the use of intelligence and the like. But as it is now, if the issue of $1 billion comes to play now, as it is now, we cannot blame the military. Now, because if you say that money has been approved, but I've not gotten the money, so you cannot even talk about the use of such money. And I think that that is where those in the Ministry of Finance, especially the Ministry of Finance, should be able to speed up. Now, because initially, our own position is that $1 billion being released close to election speaks a lot of question that why would it be at this critical moment when election is coming up? You know, but from all indication now, there's no evidence that the money has been released to even the agency that is supposed to use it. So for me, it is the Ministry of Finance we have to call to order and say, look, what is happening to this money? Because we just want to believe what the Chief of Army Staff, what he has said. If he has not received the money, I'm not sure he would say he has received the money.
You're right. Well, I want to pick up on something that Tony said, and is it Tony being in the security community? I understand when he says $1 billion US is nothing. Now, this is where the rest of us civilians will make like this. Say, okay, we understand what you're saying, it's expensive. Maybe it's for that, I wonder if you think it could be for that particular reason that the authorities, the powers that be, bearing in mind what we have done with security monies in the past, because usually you don't get any accounting in it, and it's a very, very unique, arcane area where people can claim expertise. It takes a security professional to say that $1 billion US is nothing, and in his community he'll be understood. Maybe that's one of the things. What do you think, why this money is not just released like that so that it can just be spent and don't ask us questions? This is intelligence, this is security.
Now, if you look at it very well, you know, you said it rightly. If you look at the antecedents of military budget spendings we had in the past, you know, we still have the Dasuki Gate. You know,
usually
issue.
It's with no commentary by anybody.
Still fresh, you know, on our minds and all that. So, you know, the populace are always very careful. You know, when you budget money for military hardware, you know, procurement and all that. But you must understand the fact that under this, you know, present regime, you know, there have been a lot of openness, you know, transparency in the way things are done. So if you look at 350, $1 billion US, that should give us about, let's say, 350 billion or 365 billion, you know, naira.
It's some tidy change.
You know, if you look at it, depending on the exchange rate we are looking at, an average Nigerian, an average citizen see that as an humongous, you know, amount.
Yes, yes.
You know, because if you look at it vis-a-vis, you know, the amount you need to even put into power or put into education.
You look at the opportunity cost of that particular sum.
Of that particular sum. So it will naturally generate, you know, some debate and conversation, which is given. However, we should be more mindful, you know, in looking at the sanctity of life, you know, and the general benefit of we putting our money to secure our land. You know, the national integrity of this nation is quite, you know, more important than the money.
Yes,
you know,
but due process.
We are talking, and what's the?
But due process, there's no way you're editing due process out of this, are you?
No,
absolutely no way.
Nobody.
Yes.
I don't even think that anybody will actually, you know, throw due process out of the window under this present regime, because he will be accused, you know, of the same thing that you are prosecuting the people of the past. So I think it is a deliberate departure, you know, from what used to be to a new order for the government to warehouse the money with the CBN. You know, for you to get all those things, you know, what are those equipment, what are those hardware you want to get? Who is, you know, giving what, at what competitive, is there any competitive bidding and all? So those are the things.
And they will take a bit of time, unfortunately.
Exactly.
But, you know, Tony, as I was saying, you're also a lawyer. When it related to the law and, you know, the throughput of that Nigerians want, let's see some action in this your fight against corruption. there was something like, what was that thing? Front loading or...
okay, front loading.
You know, just, you can fast track the process.
Yeah, of course.
If we want to be serious.
Front load processes.
Yes, if we want to be serious, there can be that, I imagine, sort of similarity. If indeed we're serious, maybe there are things we don't know about this, because as I said, we want to get rid of Boko Haram. The president actually promised. In fact, now he has provoked, as our people say. Now the president has really provoked, and has said that, look, Army, I'm giving you.
And immediately after the president visited them at Maduguri the other day, you know, the military immediately changed their tactic from being defensive to offensive and all that. Okay. Barely 24 hours after presidential visits.
Okay.
So
yeah, the issue is not, you know, much of the provocation of the president.
But you know, I use that in our local parlance.
It's much of what is on ground for the boys on the field to use. And it's much of the intelligence, the manpower, the equipment, the strategic approach, the determination, the financing, the warehouse, the welfare. You know, it's a accumulation of a lot of things.
But wait, among the things you mentioned there, the equipment especially, I don't know how authorized those videos are, but I have seen videos of our boys in uniform saying that they have so archaic equipment you won't believe it, that we have stuff in our now, arsenal.
I was just going to come to the issue of the $1 billion.
Yeah.
If you remember, the debate that surrounded the $1 billion
allegedly decrepit equipment
was such that the military were of the argument that they needed more sophisticated and more modern RPGs and the like. Even the AK-47 or so we celebrate now, it's no longer in use.
It's ancient.
It's no longer in use.
We can't compare ourselves with America, but America doesn't use it.
Some of the idea behind the issue of the $1 billion. And like you rightly said, talking about front-loading, applying it to what is obtainable, especially in the finance department of government bureaucracy and the like. There are some of these things that needed to be given urgent attention.
That's why I don't understand
because you look at the issue of lives. How do you feel when you hear that Boko Haram will go to hard targets, like military base, and attack them, even if it is one soldier that died?
No, but that's a failure of intelligence.
I hope you understand.
That must be a failure of intelligence.
It's a accumulation of everything.
Okay.
It's a accumulation of everything. Because those that came from what we saw, came with more sophisticated weapons. You know, so it behoves on those that are now at the helm of affairs to look at the accumulation of all these things and take a speedy decision. That is why those of us that are civilians at times are angry with members of the National Assembly at times. We're angry with the politicians at times because it is easy for you to pay your money without any bureaucracy. It is easy for you to release funds to yourself. But when it comes to things that affect the public and affect their life directly, we now begin to apply bureaucracy and all those stuff of things.
You know, and part of the problem, Annie, is that, look, I think we can, I think one can say that one is sure that, in addition to our viewers, Boko Haram is also listening to this. So they're hearing commentary that's going on. That's where I begin to worry a bit when it comes to this whole matter of intelligence. Here we are saying that we're pretty much naked. We don't have equipment. We have archaic equipment. There's a sense, that was what I was suspecting, was there a failure of intelligence when they hit those hard targets? Because you can't take on an army anyhow, unless you know that they are bearing the name only. That they are bearing the aim.
Let me say something. You see, the military, in terms of Boko Haram, there would always be what you call a breach. It's a mole. Now, a mole is planted to the extent that, if you remember, even previous government will tell you that there are Boko Harams. You have sleeper cell. In terrorism, you have what is called sleeper cell. There are people that are sympathetic to their cause, though they are not members directly. There are people for one reason or the other, you know, either because of economic gain, either for political gain or the like. You know, they also have influence to direct information. Now, that is why some of us many times will say that the military and security agencies should also look inward.
Okay, let me hear Annie, because you begged, you know, leave to interjecting is questioning time.
So Uncle, I think my own intervention on that particular issue, I think the military and the army authorities, they are releasing a lot of information into the public domain that it shouldn't be.
Yeah, but they're not stupid.
Yes,
they're not stupid.
Of course.
Lord knows how much of it is strategy.
It's because of the pressure. If you look at this insurgency war, the Boko Haram insurgents, they thrive on propaganda. And what they do is that, immediately they push out their videos. They know there will be barrage of, criticism and condemnation coming from the public, and they will push the military into defensive as to, releasing their strategies and what they have been doing and all that. I'm talking about, talking about the pure...
I don't know if you've seen, and on that very point you're making, I don't know if you are able to point to any particular quote-unquote careless utterance by the army. I think they usually are careful.
Yes, of course.
And will stop short of releasing information that could aid the enemy.
Yes, of course. But what I'm saying is that the citizens, we have to be very careful, in provoking or putting the military under undue pressure, in releasing certain things. For instance, we need to even commend them, the Chief of Defense Staff, Abayo Melon Nishaki and other. If we could hear that they have not even gotten, they are not in possession of the so-called $1 billion that we thought they have even, used to, and they could still, to some great extent contain the insurgents, not until recently when they are having this resurgence of all these pockets of attacks here and there. They should be commended.
Yeah, but where it doesn't look good for our government is upon all that you are saying, Nigerians, nobody wants to lose one soldier, one Nigerian soldier.
It's not
even
not
one. It's not palatable. So if these things are going on, there are so many aspects of government and governance where, unfortunately, there will be collateral damage. And it's regrettable. But if the soldiers themselves are complaining that we look around and we see equipment, we see what the enemy is bringing to bear with us, so as somebody put it emotionally, I've also got a mother myself. I've got a mother, I've got a daughter, I've got a wife. Why are we being treated so poorly because we signed up? Now, one would imagine it's probably, maybe it's because I'm a civilian, it's why I'm being this emotional about it. They rightly have signed up, and so they are held to a higher standard. But how I wish it would be possible for that $1 billion for it to be disbursed so that the people who can do it get the equipment for the army quietly. And so the next time anybody tries anything, he's obliterated.
Of course. Entirely
obliterated. You won't even see nothing to pack up again. Then they'll know that, wait a minute, things have changed. That would be, don't bother speaking with your voice. Can you speak with your action? Is that too idealistic a situation?
Well, it's not idealistic. In actual fact, I just want to intimate my colleague here that there's what we call psychological operations in, warfares like this. What psychological operation does is that you are bound to release information.
It's propaganda.
Yes.
That's the one you use this big word for, yes. Propaganda.
The information you release, you must have at the back of your mind what you want it to achieve. It is also expected that the adversary will also work with such information, especially in their intelligence processing and all those. Now, so far so well, yes, we have the military spokesperson and all those stuff like that, but you won't see them come to public to tell you the strategy they will use. I won't say that there may not be one or two utterances at one time or the other that we may construe as strategy. For example, like we are going to Sambisa Forest tomorrow, I hope you understand.
I do.
We are going to Baga. Yeah. We are going to wipe them out. That on its own is not necessary.
Yeah.
That on its own. And we've had instances like that at one time or the other. But the fact remains that so far so well. You see, why we analyze and begin to criticize military, soldiers, police, and the like, we should at times sit down and ask ourselves a simple question. When we are sleeping, these boys are awake. Their life is on the line. So those of us that are even security analysts, we come to terms with the fact that, like you said, they have wives, they have children.
Exactly.
And they wish to come back home. No soldier wants to die in the war front. None. So and one of the best things we can do for our military, like it's done in all other developed countries, is when we analyze and criticize, we should also come to terms with also doing what? Moral boosting. Okay. Encourage them.
Now,
clap for them when you ought to clap for them.
Nobody knows this as well as Mr. President, who, it just happens, is a former military officer, top military officer. So everything that Tony has said, Buhari can just take from the end of that and continue to speak ad infinitum on this same theme. So what's going on? We have, the army can't wish a better person in Aso Rock, one of their own. He's no more in uniform, but he knows the scene. He knows what warfare is about. So this is the part that will be a bit confusing. Yeah, Buhari is a Democrat now, and the president likes holding himself to democratic norms, sometimes frustratingly so. The other day he was contradicting his own party. It's under freedom of speech, you know, say, if you want to go to court, let them go to court. Oh, wow. People are saying, wow, Mr. President, you've broken that. But I begin to digress myself. The president knows all of this, yet we're in the situation that we are in. That's the part that I don't understand. Yeah, Buhari is a Democrat now, but he used to be in military, military uniform, and he knows what equipment can do for the army. So if there was any slacking, I'm not sure Buhari will stand for it. If there was any slacking whatsoever in relation to the $1 billion that we're talking about, Buhari wouldn't stand for it, I'm guessing. I'm ready to put money on that. Yes. So what do you think is going on?
No, what really
our boys are dying, nevertheless.
No. What really happened is that I don't think it will be in the best interest of the government, neither will it be in the best interest of the, of the president for Nigerian army to be recording, these huge amount of casualty we are recording, recently. And but if you look at it very well, there is a difference between a democratic, setting and to what was obtainable under the military junta. So the Mr. President, if you are talking about the due process, he has to be very, careful. In doing that. However,
and also
they need to hasten.
I hope that care includes that we are losing.
Yes, of course.
Boys in uniform.
Yes, of course. And that is why I say it is very important. I'm very sure that the presidency is listening to us now, that the military, the $1 billion which is currently being warehoused with the CBN should be released with immediate effect, so that these boys can get all the necessary equipment they need to fight.
Mr. Abubakar in Abuja, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning to the guests in the studio.
Yeah.
Morning.
Hello?
Please go on. Thank you for calling in.
This fight against the insurgents is taking too long. Very unfortunate, despite the fact that our military have the capability and the cohesion to do that. I think over time, we have been in the defensive. Just like I've called earlier in the course of your program, before I was last week, I said there's a need for us to take the fight to them.
Yes.
The idea of also repelling, you hear today they repel, tomorrow the military repel. We have been on the fence for too long. Well, just like I said, we have the capability and the wherewithal.
Well, I'm not sure. Mr. Bubakar, according to the soldiers themselves, they are not saying that they have the wherewithal. Mr. Bubakar?
I can hear you.
The soldiers are saying that, for instance, $1 billion US that can help us out. Now we're hearing from their chiefs that money is still in the central bank.
Yes.
So the wherewithal that you were talking about.
That is the problem we are having. Bottleneck in the system we're operating. At this time, we need everybody to address it. You see, the bureaucracy is quite unfortunate. You can imagine this is a national security threat. This is the national crisis that we need to fast track to attend to the needs of our soldiers. You see, the Chief of Army Staff is a well-disciplined soldier. He's so gallant because of the leadership spirit quality he possesses. That is why he's keeping the soldiers together. Despite all the challenges, our military are doing very well. Just like I said, Mr. President needs to lead from the front line, indirectly, because he needs to put a push so that the money can be released to them, so that at the end of the day, the people in the Northeast, because an injury to all, an injury to one is an injury to all.
Yeah.
So what is affecting that part of the country, the Northeast, is automatically affecting all segments of society. So I think your medium is doing very well, and I want to commend you on Koyori, and the guests in the studio, they are doing justice to the issue. Please, let's all encourage our military. Let's put a push and this money be released to them so we can have an effective and end to this scourge that is taking place in the Northeast. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bubakar, for calling in, and also for your kind words. As I was saying, what Mr. Bubakar has just said, what Tony said before, and indeed what you've been saying, where is the issue here? Mr. President, you see, we're so lucky that he doesn't have to, yes, he has to have advisors, but he himself could be someone else's advisor on the Nigerian army and what obtains. So he knows the score. I don't know. Well, the president has committed himself to the life of a Democrat. And in fact, there are areas where Mr. President is thought to be too much of a Democrat. There are some risks that you can take now. Why don't you skate a bit on thin ice? But Mr. President said, no. These are the new rules of engagement, and let us follow it. I don't know why Tony is laughing, but let me find out.
I'm laughing because it's not everything you are saying that I agree with.
I trust that, especially when I said too much of a Democrat.
Yes, it's not everything I agree with.
I'm
not too convinced yet. But having said so, like I laid the foundation that whatever it is, we must encourage our military, definitely. It's my constituency, and I know the sacrifice that they all...
Sorry for interrupting you. Let me bring in Dominic. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning, Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, your guest in the house.
Yes. Good morning, Reverend.
Yori, that Nigeria Army do not have equipment to fight Boko Haram is a total lie. That lie is from the pit of hell. Nigeria Army has all the equipment. Now, let me say this. When there was war in Libya, what captured the Muammar Gaddafi was that there was an embargo on airstrike, which means when a man has an airstrike, he has an advantage against his enemy. Just Nigeria Army has air force. How could a man who has air force be saying that they don't have instruments? Let me tell you another thing. Nigerians, I don't know what's in us. We forget easily. The last chief of staff, chief of army staff for Jonathan, told everyone to hear that Jonathan is sending him to fight for with empty hands. But today the man is standing trial with the billions of naira that he has, that he can use to buy ammunition. That Nigerian army has no ammunition, is insult to all of us. We have some ammunition, we have air force. If we have air force, we have countries. What is happening is this. There is something inside us here. The federal class do not want this war to end. The people who take arms, of course, in Nigeria, do not want this federal war to end. And why is it at this time of the election that insurgents have rise up again? Why are we doing all this to us? I want to say this because this is politics. And I'm a pastor, I want to be frank. I think Osaka was saying the other day that he knew what to do for Boko Haram to come to an end.
Okay.
Which means he has been sabotaging us all this while. He lost the bloodshed for many years in this nation, 7 years. He knew what to do, and he kept quiet. Now he wants to come to power. He has found the answer. Who is blind to who? Nigeria Army has equipment. I pity for our children that we put on the front and sabotage them. God bless Nigeria.
Indeed. Thank you very much for calling. And when Reverend Dominic spoke, saying that this was a lie from the pit of hell, I understood him, but I don't think anybody has said that Nigerian Army doesn't have equipment. It's about state-of-the-art equipment. TVC was where it was in the past. TVC is where it is now.
No.
We've always been broadcasting. We've always been reaching out there. But today, it's in a much more elevated way, and perhaps we can do things a lot more effectively than before. That's what
yes, of
is
course.
said will be...
That is exactly what we have all said. That is the preponderance of thoughts we expressed there so far. We never said they don't have equipment. All we are saying is that they need to up their game. Now, for instance, if you see the insurgent now, if you recall, there was an intelligence that forecast that the insurgent will be using drones to attacks and all that. So what we are saying is that apart from you even deploying soldiers and all that, you can as well use drones.
Okay, I got to go to a break now. I'll come back and I'll continue with you because I guess the idea that I interrupted you mid-sentence. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. We got Tony Ofoyeton and Eniton Olukotun in the studio. And we spent the first half of the program looking at this intractable problem, and perhaps some of the reason for it is that the money that has been allocated for them to sort of retool and up their game and modernize their equipment, at least that's what we're thinking, that look, if they had 1 billion, which has been said to be a blip in terms of military hardware, it is true. We don't need to be professionals to know that tanks and airplanes and all that kind of a thing and intelligence can cost a pretty penny. But here we are. We've heard about that. We just hope it'll get better. And there are other things that I spoke about when we came on. For instance, President Buhari over in Poland now saying that I am not Jibrin, I am not a clone. I didn't even think I was going to go to that story, not until the president has actually come in on it and said that I'm not so. He was, by the way, he never responded to us here. But then again, we hear that in Poland, I think I read that Garba Shehu was reporting that it's because a question was asked, and that's why the president needed to go there. Two things I think I want to talk about here. Between this whole matter about the president being a clone, that annoys some people, that engages some people. And then the other thing about Alhaji Atiku Abubakar got a US visa. He got the visa to the US. He hasn't been able to use the visa yet, I understand, because following the crisis as reported within the campaign section of the PDP, he's had to rush back home to come and see, hey, what's going on here? Wiki, well, what's this whole matter about you want to resign and take hold of the whole thing? Tony, meanwhile, there are those who are saying that Alhaji Atiku is not going to be able to go to the US. Well, the way we are looking at it is that it's not a matter of not being able to go to the US. There was an emergency. He had to zip back home. Tony, come in on this whole matter.
Well, I think the issue of the cloning of Mr. President, his response came rather late.
But has laid the matter to rest, finally.
To the extent that many people had also formed an opinion. I expect that the government would also respect the indigenous journalists, respect, our own. If it's now becoming a culture where you have critical issues, and until you get outside the country before you respond to such issue, to me, I see it as a new colonialistic. You don't need to do all those. It costs you next to nothing to come out and say, no, this thing you are saying is not true. It's as simple as that. Some of us didn't believe, some of us didn't disbelieve. You understand? So I think that over time, the government should learn to understand that it's governing people. And once the people are bringing up issues that are very critical, because if you ask me, some people will tell you that, look, His response is political. But what of if he's Jubri? Will he say, come and say that I am Jubri? Is it possible?
Yes.
It's not possible.
In relation to speaking abroad, this, as you said, you're not too happy that this is becoming something of a tradition. Jonathan did it before him. Obasanjo did it before Jonathan.
No, please, let's not justify the wrong thing.
I'm not justifying.
It's not even right for you to even bring such juxtaposition.
Why is it not right?
No,
because this didn't start now.
It's wrong.
First of all, I said it is wrong.
Are you saying that it's right?
No,
I am not saying it's right.
I'm saying that
you
when
don't
you
need
say,
to bring a juxtaposition to say Obasanjo did it, Jonathan didn't rule well. That was why Jonathan was voted out.
Thank you very much.
And if he did not rule well, he should be voted out. If he's doing the same thing Jonathan has been doing, then he should be voted out
I
too.
accept what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. We're on the same page. But I'm saying that this has become an annoying tradition to journalists here that our leaders decline to engage us. But as soon as they get abroad, it doesn't matter how, junior or lowly the questioner is, they will give him a full and considered answer. That's all I'm saying. And this goes back to way before President Muhammadu Buhari, which does not mean that he is doing it right either. Just had to clear that matter.
Yes, to that extent.
Yeah, because when you started about this government needs to, I said, wait,
so
it has become a bad tradition.
As far as I'm concerned, I needn't even dwell on it again, except we have any other contrary.
Nelson in Niger Delta, right? Good morning. In Benin. Good morning, Mr. Nelson in Benin. I'm so sorry for keeping you waiting. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling.
Good morning to your guest in the studio.
Okay.
Good morning.
You see, the issue of Boko Haram is an issue that we have to look inward. We have to look inward in the essence that they have to stop playing politics with the issue of Boko Haram. Now, let me take you back to 2014. You remember the committee on President Jonathan inaugurated a committee on Boko Haram issue, which was headed by late General Azazi. Did you remember that committee?
Yeah.
2014.
Yes.
What happened to the recommendation of late General Azazi? Did they follow that recommendation? You see, we have to stop playing politics. I know that in wars, there are so many people that we always gain from war. There are some generals in Nigeria, that wouldn't want Boko Haram war to end because they are making money from it. That is the fact. Osibanjo, when our president was handling the issue of Niger Delta, this Niger Delta Avengers, what happened when Osibanjo handled it? What happened to the issue? Have that issue got to an end? I just feel Mr. President should take his hand out of Boko Haram issue and call Mr. VP, or he should rather go on holiday and call Osibanjo to handle the issue of Boko Haram. You will see that Boko Haram issue will be brought to the nearest minimum.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And also, once more, apologies for holding you on all that while. Annie, now to come to you, I commented, and my brother here naturally, took exception, but I hope I explained myself that what I'm saying is that this didn't start now. Our leaders going abroad and then feeling freer there. Sometimes we have seen it here in the President Obasanjo's time, questions that he would not take from us, flying a BBC journalist, a young lady, a young man, and President will take questions from those guys. So what I'm saying is that part of our national psyche, I don't know, God will help us in that area.
Amen.
Maybe we need to fast a bit more.
Yes, of course.
But now the president feels free and assured enough to answer what has been told us was a question from the audience in Poland to say that I am not a clone and all of that. Now, I'm surprised that this story is getting traction. First of all, give me your impression. Do you think it's a rubbish story and that why are we wasting time on it?
Well, it is not a rubbish story because if you look at it very well, it all started like a beer parlor, gossip,
things like if you look at one side, was it the right side or so? There's certain things with the earlobe that are not on the earlobe now.
So like the usual pepper soup joint, kind of gist.
Yes.
And before we knew it, it actually
taking on a life of its own.
Gained some prominence even within the mainstream media, and even a leading national daily actually did a report on it and all that. And so the presidency was forced, somehow to react, to that. I think it was last week when, the Minister Lai Mohammed, said a lot of things. He even said it was idiotic, to actually contemplate that someone who is not President Buhari,
the foreign national, is masquerading as our own president,
our own president, and all that.
I think Lai was thoroughly annoyed.
No, he should be annoyed, and so you can't totally discard that. In this season, this is a season of politics. And we are in an electioneering period. You don't
but can the populace sift? From what you're saying, that you expect all of this. When Christmas time comes, you begin to see buntings. So it's like it comes with the territory. When electioneering time comes, you begin to hear these fantastical stories.
Yes, of course. And to me, it's a bit. I think we are taking this, our politics or the mudslinging and the way character assassination beyond measure.
Okay.
For you to have said that someone who is an husband to someone, father to some people, that the man is not their real. So now the question to ask is that
in love and war.
No, I'm coming on. The question to ask is that if Jubrin has been the current Buhari is fake, according to them, that we have Jubrin. Is it Jubrin that has been meeting with Aisha, the first lady, all this while, and the woman does not know? No, I'm coming. And the woman does not know his husband, or her husband rather. And the woman does not know her husband. So all this.
How can this be? And it means that Mrs. Buhari must also be complicit in this whole ruse.
Yes, of course. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make.
But it is not in this time and era. You don't only respond to things that make sense. Before you know it, nonsense will make sense if you don't refute it.
Okay. So Joshua in Abeokuta. Good morning, sir. Joshua. Mr. Joshua.
Yeah, I'm Famuyiwa, not Joshua. Famuyiwa.
Famuyiwa. I'm so sorry. Never mind Joshua.
Yeah.
Mr. Famuyiwa, carry on.
Boko Haram issue is that the army and the air force, they are not working together. Let them work together and they will give us the results.
Army and air force?
Yes.
Okay. Once they get into sync, we'll get better results. Thank you.
Yes, that's what I believe, because you can imagine when this last attack, after these people have attacked the army, and when they are coming, when they send the troops to go and recover the dead body, then these people attack them more. They will inform the Air Force to go on ahead, and they bomb these people, and the army will come through. Let them work together. Let them not be claiming superiority, because army used to be claiming superiority over the Air Force. Let them work together and let us give us the result.
Oh dear.
The issue of not having the equipment, that one will not be. At least the one we have, they can be managing the one we have. You will get another one. Not that we're telling us that we don't have this, we don't have that. For how long?
Because somebody also said what you've just said. Thank you very much for calling in that. It was Reverend Dominic who alluded to the fact that, look, I don't think Reverend Dominic precluded the need for modernization or anything like that, but I think he was making the point that there is stuff with which to be able to do work. Yes, it's a different matter if you want the latest model.
The military, they work symbiotically together.
Yes, of course.
Talking about the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force.
We know.
Those three, they are inseparable when it comes to operation. Now, if he had talked about other security agencies working together, maybe I would have
I understand, yes.
maybe be on the fence on that. But the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, they've always been three brothers that they understand themselves very well.
Okay.
And they operate very well.
Okay. Mr. George in Ikeja, good morning, sir.
No, it's Okorafo.
Hey, but not Mazi Okorafo.
It's Mazi Okorafo.
In Ikeja?
No, Mazi Okorafo. I was in Abia State.
Welcome. Mazi Okorafor in Arochukwu, Abia State. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guests in the studio.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you.
morning.
Good morning, Mr. Mazi.
You see, in terms of insurgency or security, this is no longer a local affair as the issue. What we should be talking about is, you ask yourself, this issue of military intelligence strategies. We have to strategize. What do I mean by strategizing? Each military zone, at least there should something like monitors what is happening within and outside. It will help on that, number one. Number two, they said the insurgents are into this drone. Now you ask yourself, our drone, how far have we gone?
Okay.
Because our drone should be working 24 hours. I agree it's an intensive exercise, but this issue, if you read that 2 weeks paper, when what happened, they said IS said that they are coming back, that they informed them. Now, we have to strategize. Well, I agree that we pray. Yes, God will help us. But the question is, it is not a technological-oriented military system. It's to say that all these focal binocular, which I used to see during that Biafra time, the military should at least show that we have up to 20 or 30 binocular camera among the troops moving. It will help them to foresee what is happening up. But if it's somewhere we're still working on based on environment, it will not help us. Please, let us. I know it's military, listen, and you ask yourself, this aircraft we are talking. You know when Trump went to Afghanistan, what he did? He entered one place at a danger zone. He emptied 350 bombs on that spot. I think Nigerian army should do the same thing in those ambitions. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okorafor, and also apologies for misidentifying you. You were talking about drones and the need for... Look, there's nothing we don't need. Whether it is night vision goggles or I don't know,
or binocular.
We need those ones. The binoculars, nobody is using that one again. So our guys need to be able to see during the night if need be. Although it is old hat, for all I know, they might even have those things. But the point one is making is that $1 billion, even though Tony has given us caution that in security terms, it's not as humongous as all of that. But we are saying that perhaps if they had it, if they had the use of it, judicious use of it, because this is the problem that we started with. If they had judicious use of it, who is going to be procuring for the army? Because if they say we have stuff that is going back to the First World War, I don't know if it is a lie or not. But if we are said to have in our stores somewhere equipment that goes back to First World War and then maybe Second World War, there's a problem. And I don't know how this is going to be any different, because I think the authorities and indeed Nigerians don't want that money frittered away in the name of secrecy, shrouding, auditing of security equipment and purchases. I think that's the problem.
Yes, of course. I think I need to weigh in on certain insinuation we are getting, the feelers we are getting that some of the military hardware we have they are as obsolete as the one used in the First World War. I don't want to believe that.
Well,
because
it's not true. Well, I'm very happy and relieved.
Yes, of course. It can be.
Because it will be ridiculous.
No, yes, of course. It can be, because if you look at it, even as recent as the Jonathan government, there were some procurement that were made. Though,
no, the point I think they're making is that nothing has been thrown out. Maybe scrapped. You know, sometimes you toss some things out to pasture.
No, that is not entirely true. The fact remains that we need to restock, our armament and and get more, sophisticated military hardware. However, we should not totally wish away, the tools, the tools that the military, the soldiers on the field are actually fighting with. So what we really need to do, like I said earlier on, the issue of the drones. So if you use drones to actually you use that drones to do a lot of things. You use it even in gathering what we call intelligence, data
but
and some other things.
We do apologies. You've never worn a uniform before. You've never worn a uniform before, so this is you're telling us about drones. Because I imagine that. Look, so even everybody has a drone. People have drones for photography.
Yes, of course.
Monkey by grade, different levels.
I'm not talking of the one you use to capture whatever. They are I thought maybe that's what Mr. Uncle Yori was thinking about. I'm talking about some
military grade,
built for purpose, military drones that you can use, to actually gather intelligence.
And that would normally be out of the reach of the ordinary person.
Yes, of course.
But I got to bring on. It's not Mr. Famuyiwa this time. I think it is Mr. Joshua. I'm going to take a chance. Mr. Joshua? Is that Mr. Joshua?
Yes, that's right.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Yes. Quickly, I just want to say condolences send my condolences to the soldiers that we lost. That was too bad. I pray God will comfort their families. Amen. And I want to encourage the military. They can do well, and they looking one. I think the matters are more political than war. I think we have the more political issue. The war program, the statement of the president was reassured, and there's more of political coloration to Boko Haram. I want to say that the president was saying that Boko Haram is owned by somebody. Who owns Boko Haram? What is Boko Haram fighting for? What are they trying to achieve? Who offended them? So now we know that the issues here are very, very important to handle well, and I pray we will handle it well. I'm just trying to say this to us as a public. We're beginning to get very sentimental about Boko Haram, and that is dangerous. Every matter now is Boko Haram. If you have ethnic clashes in the north, it's called Boko Haram. Old pictures are circulated as Boko Haram. That's not good for us. And then lastly, sir, the issue of cloning the president, I think I'll put the problem at the doorstep of our people. How did we degenerate to that level of thinking? I have graduate friends who were believing that cock and bull story that the president was cloned. This is terrible for us.
Okay.
I want the press to look at the issue of talking about values for our society. We have gone somewhere too far.
Okay.
Now I want to talk to the press, a person there who is talking about why the president goes abroad and makes such announcements. He should go abroad. Because if he says it here, he will twist his matter. He will twist the word. If he says he's not cloned, the press will go and report that he says he's Yakubu instead of Dubri.
Oh dear. Okay, so I get you.
We should go back to professionalism. We should go back to our values as human beings. Can't be saying your president is cloned and he's not annoying. He has a family now, he has wives and children. I think we degenerated too far in that matter.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Joshua, for calling in. Well, I wonder if, look, social media, everybody's now a publisher. Before, as our people say, use the word twice, before, you had to have the wherewithal to set up a printing press, even if you wanted to put out bad rumors. But now, all you need is just for the cost of a phone, maybe 10, 15,000 naira, you have become a publisher and you can publish anything you want and people will just link onto it. So I wonder if that might not be one of the problems of Lai Mohammed has been here and warned us all about fake news. We didn't even need Lai Mohammed. Trump, the world, everybody is warning about fake news. Facebook, everybody is trying to tighten up now to take, because people are using information as deadly a weapon as this $1 billion would have gotten us.
Yes, of course, and that is one of the dangers of the disruptive tendency we have with the internet, and the social media. So it behoves the traditional media and the citizen to be very careful, and we have to be very circumspect of information we share and things we believe, because just like you said, it is very cheap.
Very, very cheap.
For you to just set up things and start setting the entire country, ablaze by dishing out.
Social media has its own advantage.
Yes, of course.
Oh, yes, without doubt.
It gives
in closing, please, because we've run out of time.
Opportunity to express himself.
And it also assumes that everybody's going to be responsible.
Very well. I agree to that extent. But like you said, it now behoves on you and as an individual to look at it if it is true. The source, how credible is the source, and how authentic or most likely authentic is the information that is being dished out. It can be very oratory, it can sound very convincing, but how truthful is it? But it's also bogged on the government too. At times, like the issue of cloning didn't start immediately before election. The rumor had been there long ago.
Just like there was a rumor of his death.
Long ago.
There was a rumor of his death.
Yes.
All these rumors.
Almost immediately he came back. But what we expected the government to do at that point in time was nip it at the bud.
Okay.
But you kept quiet and allowed it to grow. Now, once the government can't claim ignorance. It's not a matter of the fact that it's during electioneering. No. Immediately he came back, the issue of cloning started. But it was growing and the government assumed it would die or fizzle out naturally. But like you agree with me, you have people that are for you, you have people that are against you. Since you don't know the source of information, once it's coming, what do? You nip it in the bud with the truth.
Okay, I'm afraid that's all the time that we have, and I want to thank you, gentlemen. These matters are not going to go away. Another incarnation of them will be there tomorrow for us to look at. But thank you very much, Tony Ofoye, on DG International Institute of Professional Security.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, our pleasure. And Eniton Olukotun, journalist and public affairs analyst. Thank you very much as well for sharing your perspectives. And so that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folani. Bye-bye for now.